Hey, MCC family, I just want to bring you an update on where we're going as far as our Sunday worship gatherings. But before I do, could we just take a breath? I'm worn out with the fighting. You probably are too. I'm worn out with the bickering that's in our community and in our nation. You know, more than any time I can remember, it seems like everyone is mad at something. One person's mad because COVID is a made-up disease birthed in a political conspiracy. And then another person's mad because it's real and it's not been taken seriously. And somebody else is furious because of the racism that seems to be rampant. And another person is mad because they believe there is no racism. And one person is all worked up because there's a mandate about wearing masks, while somebody else is put out because they see somebody not wearing a mask. And the fighting is becoming common. Being mad is common. Name calling is common. As a matter of fact, in this season, I've been called weak because we closed the church building. And then I've been thought of as irresponsible because we started opening the church building. Unfortunately, those types of reactions have become all too common. So let's just take a breath and remember that the Lord has not called us to be common, but to be uncommon. You know, Philippians chapter 4, Paul says this, listen to this. He says, let your gentleness be evident to all, because the Lord is near. Let your gentleness be evident to all. I'm struggling to let my gentleness be evident. Sometimes my anger is evident. Sometimes my frustration is evident. But we're not instructed to let our frustration be evident to everybody. We're told to let our gentleness be known. And I think we have a choice. We can be a gentle giant, or we can be an angry giant. Let me illustrate with a story. You know, as a kid, I can remember two large men in my life. And when I say large, I mean like tall and thick. They towered over everyone. And they didn't easily fit in cars. They looked out of place at the dinner table. Their hands were the size of pumpkins. And in every picture, they made everybody else look tiny. They were giants. But they were each a different kind of giant. One was a nice guy on the outside, but he had a super short fuse. Like he could blow up at any minute. And when he did, you better watch out, because you didn't want to be around him because he was an angry giant. Then there was another giant. His name was Cloyce. It's kind of a fun name, isn't it, Cloyce? Well, Cloyce was just as big as the other giant, but with one difference. Cloyce was a gentle giant. You would want to be around Cloyce. He was kind of like Shrek. I mean, not green and everything, but he was just kind of like Shrek, like he was huge, but he would make you laugh and make you feel comfortable. He was the poster child for being a gentle giant for one reason. His gentleness was evident. So what kind of giant do you want to be? A common giant, an angry, frustrated giant, or an uncommon giant, a gentle giant? Think about that for a moment. So I'm going to explain some of our procedures going forward, and you may be tempted to make your frustrations evident to all. But I want to ask you to do something uncommon. Instead of making your frustrations evident, how about we make our gentleness evident? How about we strive to be gentle giants? So as we enter the mandated masking phase for Indiana, I want to offer some clarity on what it means for MCC. Now, to be clear, our mission has not changed. We're all about helping people take one step closer to Christ. And in this season, we're all about helping people safely take one step closer to Christ. Now, we're seeing COVID cases on the increase in Vigo County. Some are considering our state as a hot spot in the nation. The good news is that the death rate is decreasing. The bad news is that the virus is spreading quickly. You know, I have friends in some leading churches all across the U.S., many of them that are our same size, and some have reopened only to have to close again. And some are delaying their opening to September or even into next year. Now, I don't want the MCC campuses to have to shut down. And for that to happen, we must go slow and we must go safe. So, according to Indiana officials, wearing a mask to help prevent the spread of coronavirus is now mandatory in the state of Indiana. So, beginning Sunday, August 2nd, masks will be mandatory at our MCC campuses the entire time we're in the building. This applies to everyone age 8 and up. That's the same requirement as the state. So let me say that again. Beginning Sunday, August 2nd, masks will be mandatory at our MCC campuses the entire time we're in the building. This applies to everybody age 8 and up. Again, same requirement as the states. Now, I can hear some of you cheering, and I may hear some of you swearing. Whatever the thoughts or the reaction, let's be uncommon and let our gentleness be known to all. So let me offer some clarifications by answering a few questions. Here's a question. Can we take our mask off when we sit down in the sanctuary? No. Some studies suggest that singing actually increases the risk of spreading COVID-19, and there are even some churches who have banned singing. Like, we don't want to do that. So we're going to take the extra precaution of leaving our mask on the entire time we're in the building, okay, unless we're taking communion. Now, here's another question. Well, what if I have a medical condition that prevents me from wearing a mask? So some of us do have an underlying condition that prevents us from wearing a mask. In that case, we encourage you to join the MCC online gatherings, and we look forward to welcoming you back when masks are no longer mandatory. But for now, if we're in the MCC building, we are in a mask. Here's another question. Well, what if I refuse to wear a mask? Let me be clear. Masking is mandatory at the MCC buildings. If you refuse to wear a mask, you'll be asked to join the MCC online gathering and not be present in our building. Well, how long is this going to last? That's another question. Well, according to Indiana officials, face masks will be mandatory until at least August 26th. Now, that date may be modified depending on the state's COVID-19 numbers. You say, well, what about the people on stage? Okay, unless you're singing or speaking in a microphone and you're social distancing while doing that, then masks are mandatory. Here's another question. Can you really tell people what to wear? Hey, listen, if you don't wear pants, we're not gonna let you in the building, okay? So listen, friends, I don't wanna debate the whole does masking work business. It's not productive. It just creates arguments and frustration and angry giants, which are, well, common. And listen, I don't like wearing a mask. I get it. It frustrates me. But here's how I look at it. It's not about me. See, when I said yes to Jesus, he challenged me to put other people first and to love my neighbor the same way I love myself. And I want to love my neighbor well. And I know you do too. So out of respect for our neighbors, we're going to do something incredibly simple. We're going to put on a mask. So listen, if you're a follower of Jesus, standing on the gospel like we talked about last week, we know that God showed his love for us by allowing Jesus to be brutally tortured on a cross. And if Jesus made a sacrifice of being nailed to a cross in unthinkable cruelty, it's really not that much of a sacrifice for you and I to throw a mask on, is it? So listen, I'm looking forward to you joining us on Sunday, and if you're ready to mask up and you feel safe in coming, we'll see you at one of our campuses. And if you're not ready, no worries. We'll look forward to joining you online, and you can join us when you're ready. In the meantime, let's continue to live in an uncommon way and make our gentleness be evident to all, just like gentle giants.